I'm very lucky to have with me Peter Neill, who is one of the speakers at the Kindled in Maine conference that is going on USM right now this weekend, and it is not too late to participate. You can just get over there and get registered. Peter Neill is the director of the World Ocean Observatory and the Open Space Institute, and can be reached at pneil@thew2o.net. And welcome, Peter. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me. It's great. Love to be here.
All right. Tell us a little bit about what you were just speaking at the Bioneers conference.
Well,
yeah?
first, people need to know what Bioneers is. It's a pretty interesting, progressive group of organizations and individuals all over the United States who are basically trying to apply nature-based principles to new technologies, new social structures.
What's a nature-based principle?
Well, it's the idea of looking at how nature works. For example, if you're dealing with fisheries management, for example. So if you have a management council that doesn't equate or correspond to the migration patterns of fish, then you might have one policy in one side of the line and another policy in another side of the line. It's actually quite relevant to Maine, where where lobster have one set of policies and fishing practices on one side and a very different one, more conservation-based actually, in Canada. Mm-hmm. So what happens is the fish don't know the difference.
Right.
They don't
see borders either.
They don't care borders. They don't need a passport. Mm-hmm. And so the idea, though, is to take and to look at these things not just as ecosystems, but as social systems. So, for example, again in Maine, where we have fisheries councils which are charged with the management of fisheries resources along the coast, and in many cases the fishermen don't participate. For whatever reason, doesn't matter, they don't participate. So what happens then is that the scientists and the policy people then begin to exercise their perspective, and systems are put in place which the fishermen object to and which impact upon their pocketbooks and their livelihoods, and sometimes they engage and many times they don't, and they just complain about it on the radio, but which is colorful to listen to. But nonetheless, it's the fact is in some countries you have fishermen managed councils. So the fishermen themselves accept the responsibility and the accountability on the premise that it's good for them to sustain their fisheries from one year to the next, and even to the point where their sons and daughters could go into the fisheries after them.
So in the Bioneers conference, one of the things that you would be presenting, and other people who are presenting in the Bioneers conference that's going on here at USM, is a way to apply naturally occurring
patterns,
symbiosis,
right,
and stuff like that, to maybe human organizations as well.
Well, let me give you an example. I was in Mumbai in India this spring, and I went to the fish market there, which is it's just
an amazing
just
colors.
An amazing thing.
Yeah.
It is not regulated, I can tell you. The boats are hundreds of years old. The people are going out in these dilapidated craft. They're bringing in stuff that looks basically like slurry. And what happens is that hundreds of women come and they sit down and they take this pile of biomass and they sort it. And that's their job. So the little shrimp are here, the mid-sized shrimp are here, the little fish are here, the little ones are there. Then a whole nother set of women come and they take a selection of it and they put it on their heads and they go out into a city of 20 million people, and they take their little distribution piece, one block in the shanty town, where they're actually distributing the protein. So what you have is a very organic reflection of the same kind of distribution system that happens in nature. Nature is not managed by FedEx or UPS. I keep thinking that UPS ought to go and look at these structures and do some analyses to see how, in fact, it costs nothing. The carbon footprint is nothing. It provides jobs, it provides protein, and it provides a kind of natural distribution system that feeds the people, and it enables these women to become leaders in their sections. So they become advocates for education, or then they get microloans and they begin to build their financial wherewithal. And suddenly that you've enabled a whole kind of community development opportunity that wasn't there before.
And so in Maine, how could we apply that?
Well, the people that are here right now represent hundreds of organizations in northern New England. There are many organizations in
People
northern
that are here in
the Bioneers conference. And they're looking at alternative transportation, they're looking at estuary and river management, they're looking at sewage treatment, permaculture, they're looking at organic farming and slow food. All of these organizations are based on the same general kind of bottom-up principle, non-consumer, consumer-based, sustainably organized, and all the rest. Well, now this represents a coalition of them. When suddenly you start putting all those organizations together, and you encourage them to speak and work together as partners, you're able to build this network. And what you're really doing is not only enhancing through partnerships their effect, but you're also linking the value system together. So that all of those people, those values then begin to pervade a larger community, and then they begin to determine community-based decision making.
So you can also be part of the biomass.
You can.
By going to kindledinme.com, which is where all of these wonderful things that Peter is describing are described in detail, and all the different speakers, and it's going on today and tomorrow and on Sunday. Are you speaking again, Peter?
No, I'm finished. I'm off to China, actually, to actually talk to the World Aquarium Congress about another part, and maybe we can talk about that in a bit.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for coming. How would people reach you if they were interested in communicating with more of your ideas?
Look at the website. It's www.thew2o.net. THEW, number 2, letter O, .net.
Great. Thank you so much. So I hope that check that website out. Check the kindledinme.com website out, or just come right down to USM, and great food, great entertainment, great speakers, and a lot of hope. And a lot of hope, and I'm really excited to go to this conference.
Great.
So thank you so much for coming, and we're going to
pleasure.
keep going with some music. This particular